They're taking away a lot of money from resources. They're taking away teaching grant money. But what they're going to spend the money on, they say, is to finance the new student fees regime. It doesn't come cheap. It's going to cost them billions. So even by their own bad maths, this is an ideological attack. It's about introducing a market into education, even if it costs them billions and billions of pounds. And we're saying, in response, leave our pensions alone, leave the jobs alone, leave our courses alone, give the students the resources, the facilities, the courses, the libraries they need. And that's why we are going to, I hope, continue to stand together on Thursday, the next day of strike action, which for UCU will be national strike action across every university and every FE college. And I hope that the students will be here in the same, if not greater numbers, pulling more people into and out of the central administration headquarters. First of all, John Wadsworth, who's the president of UCU.
Okay, thank you, Des. Standing here is quite impressive, just looking down at the number of people standing before us here. We've had a really good turnout today. A couple of really good bits of news. My department, Educational Studies, is totally shut today. All lectures are being cancelled. Some of you may, like me, have found out last night that the Students' Union went into occupation in the town hall yesterday evening in solidarity with us. I think once again we should have another big round of applause for our outstanding Students' Union. I wrote last week and I was asked to the warden, asking him to call upon the employers to go to ACAS to try and resolve this dispute. I didn't get a reply from him. I got one from the director of HR instead, who actually turned the whole thing round, and he elevated my position. He called on me personally to call this whole thing off. I was impressed by the number of people out there driving past who hooted their horns. There is a public level of support for us as well. We were told that was not there. They are wrong on that.
The next speaker is someone who is a representative of the occupation.
Well, we've all received a lot of shit today about the fact that we're disrupting people's personal courses and everything. And you know what? We've got to accept that we are disrupting people's personal courses. We also accept that it is a long game. This is the whole point. We're all sacrificing something for this. There's hypocrisy that means that people like Saif Gaddafi get their PhDs paid for them, while at the same time they cut jobs, they cut pensions. It's ridiculous, and we notice it because we've seen it for a long time. It's the neoliberalisation of universities. It's completely in solidarity with what you're doing. We respect the fact that the UCU strike was a hard-fought thing, and we completely respect that you've gone out on a limb for it. Thank you.
And we're very pleased that we have someone from the Unison branch, Eleanor Saunders, as well.
Hi, I'm chair of the Unison branch at Goldsmiths, the support staff trade union. We represent the cleaners, porters, admin staff under the higher grades at Goldsmiths. And I just want to send a message of solidarity to people striking today, and I know that UCU members will return that should Unison members have to strike at Goldsmiths.
John mentioned some of the communication from the director of HR. One of the best analyses of the whole dispute, we feel, has come from a relatively anonymous member of staff who is a professor. Actually, I don't know if he's a professor or a doctor. What's his full name?
Dr. H.R. Shotfoot.
Dr. H.R. Shotfoot. And Ben has volunteered to read out his letter to the director of HR.
We have no idea what the true identity of this mystery figure is, but I'm going to read this out to you now. Dear Chris Pearson, thank you once again for a choice and timely inspection. With a typically unerring eye, you have spied out the tiny nest of troublemakers here at Goldsmiths, whose reckless radicalism is about to plunge us all into chaos. The admittedly large 80% majority of Goldsmiths UCU voters in favour of strike action over pensions are clearly in reality a shadowy clutch of Machiavels, using a fair and legal ballot as cover for their misdeeds. The democratic process is, as you astutely point out, a hollow sham. When we look at it with this kind of rigorous scrutiny, how much better it would be if we simply allowed the proper functioning of the college not to be interrupted by voting, and simply placed our trust where it should be, in the hands of our undervalued SMT. These few, these blessed six, may only comprise 0.003949997% of Goldsmiths staff, but their massive expertise outweighs all the votes in the world. The projected loss for incoming academic staff of £461,000 in career pension benefits seems a small price to pay for such masterly leadership. For what this comforting sagacity brings, and what no one but I seems to appreciate, is peace of mind for loyal employees, or pommel. Better slow impoverishment through eroded wages, pension reduction, or for that matter, quick impoverishment through redundancy, than all this disruptive voting and democratic process. I smell conspiracy. There is surely a link between this sinister commitment to democratic action and trade unions' enthusiasm for such will-o'-the-wisps as fair pay, just pension provisions, and a vibrant HE sector invested in as a public good. I trust with you and your sorrowful plea in the wonderfully caring Q&A that we really hope that no one will take industrial action, that next week the existence of a democratic trade union on campus will prove as insubstantial as the foolish principles to which such people aspire. As ever, your words of wisdom have pointed us all in the right direction. Yours entirely, Dr. H.R. Shotfoot.
No reply as yet from Chris Pearson. A couple of months ago we had a big rally in the college, and Martin, who's Powell Davis, the secretary of the NUT branch in Lewisham, promised almost that we would be on strike together. It was a close run thing, but it hasn't quite worked out like that. But I'm sure in the future that is something we will look to, of all education sector workers marching, striking together. But anyway, Martin is here to give his support.
Thank you. I know that you have a long tradition of people with broken promises, so it's hard to follow the words of the learned professor. But what I wanted to do first of all was to send a message of congratulations, because Goldsmiths in particular, I think, has played an important part over the last few months in changing an outlook which, when the government was first elected and all the cuts were first talked about, that we knew that people shrugged their shoulders and said, well, what can we do? And it started with the students showing that something can be done, and now we have the lecturers showing that something can be done. And I certainly hope, and this time I think my promise will be fulfilled, that after the Easter rounds of annual conferences of the teaching unions, then after Easter we're also having the teaching unions, civil servants and others joining in an ongoing campaign around pensions, because we've got to show that this isn't just a matter of having a few token strike days to show that we're unhappy about the cuts, but that we're actually having an ongoing campaign, gathering momentum, gathering other unions along the way, that we're going to carry on until this government actually is defeated, and that's what we're trying to do. And I was on a picket line this morning, not around pensions, but up in Hackney, over an individual school where NUT members are also out on strike today. And you know, one of the parents who came to speak to us at the picket line, hearing why we were complaining about the cuts in that individual school, said, it's all about privatisation, isn't it? And I thought, how very astute, because this is what these pension attacks are all about.
Yes, they're about attacks on those of us who work in education, but of course it's the one last barrier that stands in the way of those fat cats that also want to take over colleges, that also want to take over schools. How can they make a killing out of education if they've got to pay lecturers and teachers a decent pension? Of course, the pension that you might get, 10, 15, 20,000 pounds under the existing scheme as a teacher or a lecturer. If you were on a private scheme, you'd only get, say, 5,000 or 6,000 pounds, so you'd be in poverty, but more to the point, the fat cats won't be have to pay into our pensions. So that is what this is about. It's about defending our pensions, it's about defending public services. That's why we're going to be out on the streets of 26th of March. But we've also got to make absolutely clear to all the speakers at the TUC rallies that, again, it's not just a token day's protest so that we can all go away and be told who we've got to vote for in the local elections in May. It's the start of an ongoing protest, and we're going to keep on going until we've defeated this government's attacks. And thank you for showing the way here at Goldsmiths.
From the occupation wouldn't be enough, so Laura, also from the occupation, is going to say a few words.
Hi everyone. Yeah, brilliant to see so many people here. I just need to say, like, we at Goldsmiths have been at the forefront of the action against the cuts and the rising fees that our government are implementing across the board. Like, if that's not enough on its own, like, our lecturers and our UCU members have been some of the most supportive in the whole of the UK in our fight against the cuts. We need to show our support equally. We need to link things across the board. We have porters at Goldsmiths who are about to lose their jobs. The jobs are being cut hugely from over 20 down to 11 or 8. That's absolutely despicable, and we need to fight against that. We need to show that our university will not stand for that. We will fight against these cuts, and we will show our government that it's not an economic cut. This is not what that is about. It is an ideological principle, and we will not let that happen in our country.
Ed Marsh from the National Union of Students.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've come down today from the massive centralised bureaucracy to say thank you. First of all, on behalf of my dad, who's a UCU member. He's on the picket line today up north. I couldn't be up there with him, but where else would I be if not Goldsmiths on a day like today? Thank you on behalf of students everywhere, because we're in the absolute fight of our lives for education at the moment, and if we don't stand united, then we will definitely stand divided, and we will definitely fall. And so it's critical that students like you are showing leadership on a day like today on behalf of students everywhere, and standing side by side with your UCU brothers and sisters. And finally, thank you on behalf of NUS. People are constantly telling us at NUS that students don't care about activism, that students don't care about lecturers' pensions, and that students won't be taking action when their lecturers take action, because at the end of the day, students just want to learn, and they want to cross the picket line and they want to be taught, and because of that, lecturers should just get on and teach them. And it's students like you that are on the front line today showing that students do care, that students do care about their education. And of course, this is part of a much broader movement. This is part of a much broader set of ideological attacks. So thank you from NUS. I hope I'll see you on Saturday at the National Demo. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for carrying on doing it. Thank you.
Before we all disperse, just take a look around. This is, I forgot what that is, Tuesday, lunchtime. Goldsmiths is normally a much busier place. We have effectively shut down a whole part, if not the whole of this campus. We know that the management team are somewhere in the building, I think it's in the planning office, planning. What the students are asking them to do is to stop planning and start taking sides with us, with students, with staff, in defence of higher education. I don't know where the planning office is, but if you can hear us, write those letters. Come out, make public statements, join the march on Saturday, show which side you're on. We've got 4 more days of occupying, of strikes, and of making Saturday the single biggest blow to the ability of this government to carry out its cuts. So, see you the rest of the week.